You've been practicing folding your arms a certain way your entire lifetime. Our thinking patterns are in kind of a perpetual loop. What scientists like to say, which is at the bottom of this slide, is every time you think or do something, you're more likely to do it again. So every time you fold your arms a certain way, you're actually laying down a little bit of pavement, a little bit of neural pathway in your brain. Every time you do that, and you can see the highway in the picture, you fold your arms often enough, you've created a super highway for how to fold your arms. So every time you fold your arms, you're laying down a little track, and that track means that the next time you fold your arms, you're going to probably fold it that way again, right? So we're trapped. Our habits just perpetuate and solidify themselves over and over again. So there's a lesson in here. Don't fight existing neural highways. People have habits. You can't fight those habits. So here's someone up there, that could be me, giving a presentation. Here's what Toyota does. Let's do what Toyota does, right? Just explaining a different way usually doesn't work. The learner will almost always stick with or revert back to their established habits. And what's interesting about that, or what's good for you to know about that, is that they're not doing it because they're hostile. It's a physiological thing. Here's what can work. You deliberately practice a different routine, and over time, that creates a new neural pathway that takes the place of the old one. What if you practiced folding your arm the other way for a month, every day a little bit? What would happen? You'd get it. So this is where kata come in, or as I like to call them, starter kata. So here it is. There's that perpetual loop, like folding our arms. Every time you do something, you're more likely to do it again. With kata, with starter kata, you're able to inject a slightly different way of doing things and get on a path to developing a slightly different neural pathway. That's essentially what you're doing. There's culture modification made real. Look at the guitar chord thing. Does a rock and roll star use those anymore? Probably not. The funny thing is, everybody wants to play Stairway to Heaven right away. They don't want to play their scales, right? But you got to get through there. Jazz musicians are a great example. I didn't know this about jazz musicians. They practice all these fundamentals so that when they're on stage together, they don't have to think about those. They can weave in, oh, you're going that way, I can go that way with you, because I've practiced those routines. Look at the dance steps. I think that's a good one. Does a dancer who's accomplished paint steps on the floor and follow them? No. They have their own style, right? But they started with the steps. Why did they start with the painted steps on the floor? What did the painted steps on the floor do for them? Gets the basic pattern in your head and makes it automatic so you don't have to think about that, and then you can concentrate on building on that and developing your own style. And starter kata are particularly useful if you're trying to create a shared culture in a team, because everybody starts with the same basics. So the starter kata, in this diagram you see, they're just a starting point. They give you the fundamental patterns, and then you can build on that any way you like. And again, it's kind of advantageous in a team or a group or a company. If everyone starts with the same basic starter patterns, then you're starting to create a deliberate culture in that organization.
So we know it sounds a little silly, but the Dutch reach could probably save someone's life. When we pull up to a parking spot, most of us don't really think about how we open up our car door. We put our car in park, we turn it off, and we usually open it with our left hand, not really looking out or behind us. But what the Dutch reach is it's a movement where you reach over with your right hand instead of your left, which will force your body, your upper body, to turn around and look for oncoming cyclists. At the very least, you're gonna look in your rearview mirror. In the Netherlands, this is pretty much the cultural norm. I mean, they even teach it in their driver's ed class. So next time you're opening up your car door, do as the Dutch do, the Dutch reach.